Hi, this is Charlie Frank, and this is my presentation for Cycle 1. My project is to determine student activity on Linux servers. The idea comes from Dr. Halverson, one of our computer science professors at the issue. The tool is needed because he wants to determine, what students have logged in, when they've logged in, how much time they spent logged in, what have they done when they logged in. So therefore, he's trying to, I guess, going to use this information to determine how the students are doing. Some important information. My GitHub repository is under infosec underscore chazzy. The script name last underscore logon.py. It's a Python script. And my PowerPoint presentation file name is Charles Frank Cycle 1 presentation. I'll also put that on GitHub. Okay, a little bit about the Linux logging of logins. Linux logs to a WTMP file. It's a non-ASCII file. Dr. Howison provided an example of the last command from one of the DSU Linux servers. In this example, he's trying to find the last logons for students in class P5. If you notice, it gives dates, as well as times, and tells you whether the student logged in. Once I had this information, I decided I was not going to try to read the WTMP file. Instead, I would try to shell out to execute the last command. I thought it would be easier. And same goes for the W command. The W command shows you the current activity of the users logged in. In this example, this is from my Linux virtual machine, and all the examples in this presentation will be from my Linux VM. And it shows you some users that I created and how they and what they're currently doing. So therefore, I'll also shell out to the W command. Here are some command line options for the tool. Minus P for determining the class, the pattern for the class. Minus S and minus E for the starting ending number of the student. Minus L to produce the last logon report. Minus N for the total number of logons. Minus T for the total amount of logon time per student. And minus N to monitor the current activity on the Linux server for the students. Here's an example for the last logon report for students who are in class P5, students ranging from 01 to 02. You could see, for example, the student name, the student, the Linux ID, the student, ID. And for example, first line is still logged in. The second line shows you the date and time that they logged in and logged out, and how much time they spent, which they didn't spend very much time. Also, the report also has a never logged on section that if there's a student in that range, the starting and ending range that never logged in, they'll be listed under the never logged on section. Okay, another example also provides the minus T and minus N option. As you can see, first the last logon report is displayed. Then the total number of logons per user is shown, and then the total amount of time spent on the server per user is also displayed. The minus M option is shown, where it just provides a list of the current activity of the users. Okay, the actual Python script is about 500 lines of code. That does include lots of comments. So what I did is I tried to take out the more interesting parts, or the parts that would give everyone a better understanding of how actually the program works in Python. The first thing that I do in my main is actually parse out the command line arguments. And that was nice because I can get the values, plus it provided the help for the actual tool. Okay, now there are three methods that are called within this program. One is get student list. That will get the list of all the students that were provided on the command line. Another one is display last logon report based upon parameters that were provided. And then lastly is the display monitor, which will display the current activity for the students in the student list. Get student list is a fairly simple routine. It'll just go through and build the student IDs and append them to the student list, S underscore list. The IDs are just based on the pattern plus the number in the range. Display last logon, that's one of the main procedures. That'll go through, that goes through each and every Linux ID in the student list and builds the Linux command last minus capital FD. F is for full listing with dates and times, and D tries to convert, I believe, to machine name. And so what happens is once the Linux command is built, then it'll shell out to execute that Linux command, and then the code will wait to get the output as well as the error. The output needs to be split. The lines need to split for the output because it doesn't split out based upon the new line character. So therefore, I split it out for each line. Then there's a loop that will go through each line, and if it's the first line for the Linux ID and the last logon flag is set, then that line will be print. In essence, that's the first line per Linux ID that contains the last logon. So if they have 5 times they logged in, the very first line of the last command is the last time that student logged in. Another interesting part of the code is to determine the timestamp, how long that user or student was logged in. So therefore, I had to figure out where that time existed on each line in the command. If they were not logged off because of a crash or the system going down, then the time stamp is in actually the 15 field because Python starts from 0, numbering from 0 on that one, so it's the 15 field. Else the timestamp is in the 11th field, which means that either they were logged off because of a crash or the VM went down. And simply from there, I calculate the minutes and seconds and then added it to the total time. Okay, lastly is the display monitor routine. It contains an infinite loop, and I'll go through each Linux ID in the S list. Those are the student IDs. And it will build the Linux command W, the -H option. The -H is suppress the headers for each Linux ID. And then similar to the last logon, it'll shell out, run the command, get the output, split the lines, and then print the line. Okay, take care. Bye.